The following is a paid advertisement. The views expressed are the sole responsibility of the advertiser.
Put the power back in your hands. This is Behind the Law with attorney Justin Clark.
Welcome to the show. It's a show you're not going to want to miss. Lots of great free legal information for you today. Might I say life-changing type legal information for you. Welcome in, as always, my beautiful co-host, dear friend Makaila Nichols. Hello, Makaila. How are you?
Great.
Are you ready to go today?
I am.
Here's what we're going to do. So we have a good friend of mine, Todd Miner, is going to come on to talk about some of the pitfalls of your personal injury case. Also, did you know that if you don't have UM coverage, you could literally get hit by a car, another car, and they do not have to have insurance? We're going to start the show, though, with something that I think is incredibly fascinating, but also very important. Whether you have a family member who's getting a little bit older, might have to go to the nursing home. If you're getting a little bit older, worried about going to the nursing home, what do you do to protect your money, your life savings? Here's what happens a lot of times. You waste your entire life savings paying for the nursing home. There are some things that you can do to prepare for whether it's you or a family member heading to the nursing home. Also, how do you avoid probate? Our good buddy Tom Olsen will be here to talk about that as well. Like I said, it's going to be a fantastic program. The information is going to be life-changing, I think.
Yeah, sounds it. I have a lot to learn today.
Are you ready to go?
I am.
Here's what we're going to do. Quick break, and by quick, I mean very quick. When we return, Tom Olsen tells you how to protect your life savings as Behind the Law continues. Having debt can leave you feeling helpless. I'm attorney Justin Clark. Filing for bankruptcy may give you the power to lower or even eliminate the payments that have you living paycheck to paycheck. Call me now for a free consultation or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your life. Does student loan debt have you spinning out of control? You are not helpless. At Attorneys Justin Clark and Associates, our goal is to lower or even eliminate your monthly payments. Call me today or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your financial life. Welcome back. Now, this is very important stuff we're going to address right now. We live in Florida. We have a large elderly community here, as you know, nursing homes on every single corner. The thing is, nursing homes are expensive. At some point in our life, we're going to know someone, whether it's our mom, dad, brother, sister, or us. We're going to have to go to a nursing home. Here's what you don't know. A lot of times when you go to this nursing home, they literally will take every penny that you've saved your entire life. The good news for you, though, is there's a strategy that you can employ to where maybe the nursing home cannot take every penny that you've saved for and worked so hard for, or your parents worked so hard for their entire lives. And who better to ask about nursing homes and protecting your savings than our good friend Tom Olsen, attorney extraordinaire. Tom, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Thank you, Justin. I'm doing fantastic.
And first of all, too, now, and I've read your booklet here. You've written an entire booklet on how to protect your life savings, and you've given it out to a lot of clients. I know it's great information. It helps me, even in my practice, just when I'm talking to clients and can kind of give them a little bit of a guidance as to which way to go. How can I get this booklet from you?
So we have a free booklet called How to Protect Your Life Savings from Nursing Homes. You can call the Olsen Law Group in Orlando and we'll mail it to you, or you can go to our website, olsenlawgroup.com. We'll mail that booklet to you. And by the way, when we mail out booklets now, they come with 2 free sweet treats.
Sweet treats?
Yes.
Sweet treats.
One to keep and one to share.
Is that right?
Yes.
Is it, Halloween, some neighbors have the good candy, some neighbors have the bad candy? Is it the good candy or
This
the
is
bad
the Costco bulk candy.
Nice, all right,
Amazing.
perfect. A sweet treat, you can't go wrong. But it leads me to the question, and a lot of people don't understand this, they don't prepare for this. At some point, you're gonna put your parents in a nursing home, likely, or at some point, you're going to be put in a nursing home. And think about it like this, I have 2 daughters. I've worked hard. When I leave this earth, I want to be able to leave them something here. I want them to be taken care of when I leave this earth. However, if they have to put me in a nursing home, all my savings is gone, Tom. How do we protect against this?
So a lot of people think, well, there goes mom, she's going into a nursing home, there goes all her money up in smoke, about $10,000 a month to put somebody in a nursing home. Most people know that there's a 5-year look-back period, that they know they can't give their wealth away, and they think, well, there's nothing we can do. But in fact, there are Medicaid compliant tools that we can use to work around that 5-year look-back period so that we can protect your parents' wealth, whether it's their home, their IRA, IRAs, their savings account, their vacation homes. There's not a single asset that we cannot protect using Medicaid compliant tools.
So let's say I do nothing, okay? I don't call Tom Olsen. I do nothing at all, and at some point I have to put my mother in a nursing home. How does that work? I mean, I have to pay for it out of her savings, or does Medicare, Medicaid pay for it? How does it normally work if I don't plan accordingly?
Well, people get Medicare and Medicaid confused. Medicare is what everybody gets when they turn age 65. Medicaid you have to qualify for, but in that situation you have to private pay for that nursing home, $10,000 a month. At some point in time the money may run out and then you'll be converted to Medicaid. But generally, as a single person here in the state of Florida, you're going to have to spend your own money on a nursing home until you're down to nothing but $2,000 in cash.
Wow. $2,000 cash. That's all that's left. I have to pay for it all out of pocket until I'm down to $2,000. All the money I've worked for my entire life.
Exactly. Yep.
Talk to me about this 5-year look back period. I don't quite understand that. When does it begin? When does it end? And tell me about some of the tools we can use to prevent this from happening.
Well, the bottom line is that when you apply for Medicaid, they're going to ask you what have you done in the last 5 years to give away your wealth or reduce your wealth. And to the degree that you have improperly given wealth away, they're going to deny you for Medicaid. We have some great tools for Medicaid compliant tools for protecting your wealth. The biggest one is a qualified income trust. So if you make too much money to qualify for Medicaid, from pensions, Social Security, required minimum distributions from your IRAs, we can fix that using a qualified income trust. And then we have another great tool called a personal services contract. So that what mom can do before she goes into a nursing home is that she can pay you, her child, in advance to take care of her, and that's perfectly legitimate. And so you can move that money out of mom's estate into the pockets of the kids, pay them in advance to take care of them, what they would have done anyway, to come by and visit mom, make sure she's being well taken care of. And that's a way to reduce mom's wealth to get her ready and qualified for Medicaid.
When do I know it's the right time to come see you? Is it 5 years from now? I know mom's going to go to a nursing home. You don't really know. When is the right time to pick up the phone, call you and get the booklet? How do I know the timing is right?
Well, first of all, we want to let people know, we want people to know that if they or a friend or a family member is going into the nursing home, we just want them to know that there are Medicaid compliant tools to protect mom and dad's wealth from nursing homes. We can do crisis planning at the Olsen Law Group in Orlando, where somebody calls and says, mom's going into the nursing home next week, we need to do it right now. We can do pre-planning. We have a Medicaid assessment where we can lay out a plan for people, a blueprint for people to put into place when and if the time comes. What's most common is that mom or dad will fall and break a hip. They'll go into rehab. It will be recognized that they're not going to be able to go back home. And that's when people usually get involved with getting set up to go into a nursing home and protecting their wealth from nursing homes.
I have 2 little brothers. I love them to death. I mean, you can never get us to fight over anything, never been in a fight. However, Tom, you and I both being lawyers, we've had the family come into the office and seen how when someone passes away, especially when they pass away without a will, family members fight over money. It's really sickening in some ways, but most of the time when you see the big fights, it's when mom or dad did not have a will, and then they've got to go through this whole nasty probate process. How do, as a family, we come together and make sure we have everything set up to where if mom or dad die, we don't have World War III?
Well, I've been a lawyer for 40 years, and I would say for the first 20 years when mom and dad passed away, it was pretty rare that the kids would fight and argue with each other. These days, there's a very good chance that the kids are going to fight and argue with each other, possibly end up never speaking to each other again.
It happens all the time.
So the bottom line is that if mom and dad will do some good estate planning, they're going to make things simple, easy, inexpensive for the kids when they pass away. And by doing so, there's going to be less opportunity for the kids to argue when they pass away. We have another booklet called Easy Ways to Avoid Probate, and people want to avoid probate because it's expensive and it takes a long time. But the other reason to avoid probate is the simpler and easier we can make things for people when mom and dad pass away, the less opportunity there's going to be for them to argue. So for example, we have a great tool for avoiding probate on bank accounts, checking, savings, CDs. Mom and dad keep those accounts in their name only, but they make them POD, payable on death to their kids, as a tool to avoid probate. When mom passes away, any one of the kids can show the death certificate to the bank. The bank will write, if there's 3 kids, they'll write 3 separate checks to the kids. They don't have to get involved with each other. It's not like the first kid down to the bank with a death certificate gets all the money. Any one of them can show the bank the death certificate. They'll write 3 separate checks, and it doesn't really involve the kids being to interact with each other.
I see this all the time with bank accounts, actually, where someone thinks that, oh, I was on that account as well, but you're not on the account POD, and that makes all the difference, doesn't it?
Sometimes kids are authorized signers.
Yeah.
They can sign checks for mom and dad, but that does not make it POD, payable on death.
And then, let's say that we have a checking account with $100,000 in it that was under mom's name. I was an authorized signer. The bank is not going to release that money. You almost have to go through a probate at that point, don't you, Tom?
Yeah, a lot of people think mom's passed away. If I go down to the bank with her will that says everything goes to me and I take the death certificate with me, the bank's going to hand the money over to me. No, when mom passes away, that money is going to be locked up until we do that probate process. People are interested in avoiding probate because it's expensive. Florida statutes recommend an attorney fee of 3% and an executor fee of 3% for those assets that go through probate, and it takes a long time. Justin, we do a lot of estate planning for clients, and when we speak the words, we want to help you to avoid probate, you can always see them perk up because everybody's got some kind of experience, whether they heard it from a friend or a parent or something who went through probate. They know that it's bad and they want to avoid it.
So I hear horror stories all the time about mom or dad pass away, fight ensues, money is locked up. I want to avoid all that, okay? Hypothetically, I want to avoid that. I want to call Tom Olsen. How does that process work? From the time I call you to the time I bring the family in the office, and who should really come to that initial visit when we're there doing estate planning?
So we do offer a free initial consult to talk about estate planning in the Olsen Law Group, and we can do that in person, via Zoom, or over the phone, whatever they prefer. But the bottom line is we're going to find out what kind of assets they have, and we're going to tell them what tools they'll be using to avoid probate. Most married couples own everything jointly, so that when one of them passes away, the survivor automatically owns it all. Probate's going to come into play when a second of them passes away, or if they both happen to pass away in a common accident. Some kinds of assets don't go through probate, like life insurance, IRAs, retirement accounts. Anywhere where they get to name a beneficiary, they can assume that that asset is not going to go through probate as long as they've named a primary beneficiary and a contingent beneficiary. So when we're counseling a married couple about avoiding probate and the husband tells us that he has an IRA, we say, certainly you've named your wife as a beneficiary. Have you named your children as a contingent beneficiary? Often the husband will look at us and say, I don't know. So that's part of the process, is to make sure they've got contingent beneficiaries. Then cars, boats, vehicles don't go through probate, so we don't need to worry about those. Then it's easy to avoid probate on bank accounts, checking, savings, CDs, by making them POD, payable on death. And then we have a great tool for avoiding probate on real estate in Florida called a ladybird deed.
Unbelievable. Great lawyer, basically written the instruction manual on how to not give away your life savings, how to avoid probate. Also 2 radio shows. Quickly, where can I listen to you on the radio? And you've been doing it for a long time, Tom, helping people throughout Central Florida.
Yeah, Olsen on Law is America's longest running legal radio show.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so we do a few radio shows during the week. The easiest way to find out the show times and where to listen to is through our website, olsenlawgroup.com.
Excellent. Excellent job. Keep up the good work. Keep saving families and protecting them from having these big fights that unfortunately I see on the real estate side all too often. Tom Olsen, great job, buddy.
Thank you, Justin.
Here's what we're going to do. Quick break. When we return, you have an automobile accident. Someone rear-ends you. Turns out they have no insurance whatsoever. Is that possible? Todd Miner answers that next.
Todd, thank you for winning my case. From the very first day, you and your team have been there for me. You guys surely know what you're doing. Thank you again.
There's a reason people choose Todd Miner Law. So if you're involved in an accident, call us today.
Todd, thank you for fighting for me and making sure that the insurance pay me every single penny out of my case. Thank you.
There's a reason people choose Todd Miner Law. So if you're involved in an accident, call us today.
Believe it or not, you're living in what might be the most saturated market in America when it comes to personal injury attorneys. You see the billboards, you see the TV commercials. I mean, how do you choose the right attorney for you when it comes to one of these points in your life that can be devastating? I mean, having an auto accident sounds all fun, like, oh, I got $10,000 or whatever, you know, we've seen the billboards, but it can be a very, very challenging time for you. It can be a very challenging time for your family, because to have an automobile accident where you get a lot of money, trust me, you were getting very, very injured in that accident. So your selection of a personal injury attorney, a trial attorney, is a very important one. And I'm going to introduce you to someone you know already. You know Todd Miner. Todd, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Thanks for having me.
Is it the most saturated market, PI-wise?
Actually, I think it literally is the most saturated. I mean, clearly there's other places around the country, and I think any metropolitan area, you're going to find a lot of personal injury attorneys. But practicing law here, I certainly feel personally that it's the most saturated.
One of the things that I did when I started my career up in Boston, I did personal injury work. Then I moved down to Miami and I did workers' comp defense. So it was very fun for me seeing it from both sides and talking to insurance adjusters as your client versus talking to insurance adjusters as your opponent. That's what you did too. You started your career doing nothing but insurance defense work, meaning you were defending against these auto accident cases. Then you sort of transitioned over to what you do now. How has that helped you?
Oh, well, I mean, the experience I got working for an insurance company was invaluable. I mean, you literally get to see how insurance adjusters think. You find out what's important to them. You learn how insurance companies evaluate claims. And quite frankly, I tried a lot of cases on the defense side too. So, you know, when I'm dealing with an insurance company or an insurance adjuster, I know what's important to them. I know what's going to matter. If the case can be resolved without trial, then that benefits the client. So if I can get the insurance company what they need, the information they need to evaluate the case properly, that certainly benefits my client.
You don't necessarily have to name names. You can if you want. Are there some insurance companies that are cheaper than others?
100%. And I'd love to name names, but I won't. Okay. But certainly, I mean, look, here's the thing. Insurance business is very competitive. Insurance companies are always trying to get new policy holders. How do they do that? Well, they can run advertising commercials, and we certainly see a lot of those.
Quack, quack. Oh, no, that's Affleck, but anyway.
They can, you know, pay their employees less, which in some cases they do that. But the primary way they do that is to pay less on claims. And some insurance companies are just more aggressive with fighting claims than others, for sure.
I mean, you know, they got to pay flow from Progressive somehow. Right, Makaila? I mean, and they do that. I mean, a claim is an expense for them, I guess. And then I always hear Todd about, oh, they set the reserve. We set the reserve. What does that mean when they say they have a reserve on a file?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Insurance companies are regulated, and let's just assume that an insurance company was getting ready to go out of business. The law tries to protect people that have existing claims to make sure that the insurance company has set aside money in the event that everybody had to have their claim, you know, paid in a short period of time. Insurance companies make their money by taking in premiums and investing them. If they had all of their money invested, it would not be liquid and available to pay claims.
Right.
So the insurance company requires that when a new case comes in, a new claim, the adjuster has to look at it and kind of determine what they think the value is at that time, move money into a reserve account.
How do you know it's time to file suit on a case? Because I know that you're going to have clients that come in, I want to sue, I'm so angry. Not always the best strategy to do so right away, but how do you know when the time is right, it is time to file suit on this case?
Well, there's a number of things that can trigger that. If there's a dispute as to who's at fault, and you know that you're never going to get that case resolved with the insurance adjuster. For instance, if two cars are going through an intersection at the same time, and there's no witnesses, you've got a swearing contest on your hand.
Yeah.
The insurance company is never going to want to pay you full value on that. They might want to pay you 50% of full value because their position is, hey, you got a 50-50 chance of winning or losing.
Right.
So in those cases, really we have to litigate them and maybe take them to trial and let a jury decide who they believe is more credible. That's one case. Another situation, which is more common, is just a difference in value, or if the insurance company's taken the position that our clients' injuries are not related. That's very common. They'll say, oh, it's a pre-existing condition. Well, if we can't get that insurance company to change their position, we're just going to have to let a jury decide that. And so that means we have to file suit.
How does that work? So let's say I played football back in the day, which obviously I didn't. You can tell just by looking at it. It's not funny. What do you mean?
It's a little bit funny.
I did play basketball and baseball.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyway, I played football. I had a back injury when I was a wide receiver, going out on the game-winning touchdown pass, and it's always kind of been lingering. But then I had an accident, and now my back is much worse now. How do we deal with that sort of case when it comes to making a personal injury claim?
Yeah, that actually comes up more often than you would think. I mean, as we get older, we start to acquire, injuries and back pain and so forth, and the insurance companies will definitely try to capitalize on that. They're looking for something other than the motor vehicle accident as the cause. Right. And so, it can be, a challenge for us, but things that we look at are, well, how long has it been since you treated for that injury that you had back in high school? Right. Has it been 15 years? That makes it for a very tough case for the insurance company to say, well, all your problems are pre-existing. Right. So the time in between the accident and maybe that pre-existing injury, that matters. Whether or not you've had any ongoing treatment for that pre-existing injury matters.
We talked at the beginning of your segment here about maybe this is the most saturated market for personal injury attorneys in America. Central Florida is quite possibly the most saturated market. However, and I talked to you yesterday about this as well, you like to meet with every single client that comes into your office, virtually every client. Yeah. You take a very personal involvement. You are in the office pretty much every day. You're a little bit more involved than some of the others.
Well, no doubt. I'm very involved. I believe that if I'm going to take this case potentially all the way to trial, I want to build a relationship, and I want to know everything about my client, the good and the bad. I'm very upfront with my clients. I tell them the things that make their cases strong, and I tell them the things that might cause difficulties. So I'm very transparent, but in order to do that, I've got to have those upfront, those conversations. And I enjoy it. I mean, when we conclude a case, I have a lot of clients that will reach back out and they go, hey, I remember the first time we spoke, it was a Sunday and you were at home, and you called me back. So yeah, I do take a personal, I take that personally, and I always will. I try to make that effort, and my whole staff is like that, quite frankly. We build relationships with our clients.
Some people don't like lawyers, and I get where they're coming from at times, but my goodness, lawyers like you and I that care so much, number one, and the amount of hours we put in during the week, it can be absurd. If anyone knew how hard we worked, I think they would probably have a little bit more respect, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, for somebody who does this for the right reason and is passionate, you don't look at it as a job. It is, it's what you sign up for. It's what you do. It's your identity. That's why I talk to people, on the weekends. Imagine anybody here could have been involved in an accident. Just not having your car is disruptive. Yeah. Imagine a single mother who her car is now disabled. Right. She can't get to work. She can't get her kids to school. The stress level is very high. So if I can step in and help that person, I mean, the satisfaction I get out of that is incredible. It is very satisfying, rewarding.
Yeah, one of the things that, and this is important, I think, for you to know, and it's something we've talked about here before, maybe you weren't here that day. So I want to go through it again with Todd. And that is, it's a little bit weird in Florida where you have a family, you're driving down Interstate 4, you get rear-ended, and heaven forbid you're hurt, your family is hurt. The person behind you does not have to have insurance to cover your injuries. We call it bodily injury insurance, BI insurance. They don't have to have it, which is kind of shocking to me, Todd. You don't have to have BI here?
Yeah, it's not required. Every state sets their own laws for what is required and what is not. In Georgia, you have to have a minimum of $25,000 of bodily injury coverage. It's required. If you don't have it, you're driving illegally.
Right.
In Florida, there is no requirement for bodily injury coverage, with certain exceptions. But the average person with just a regular vehicle does not have to have it. They have to have PIP coverage, PIP, also called no-fault insurance. That pays some of your initial medical bills. You also have to have $10,000 of property damage liability that goes to fixing the other person's car. So you have to have property damage coverage, but you don't have to have insurance that covers their injuries. But you have the PIP. And so, you know, and I tell people, and if anybody who follows me on Facebook or Instagram has seen this many times, you probably have seen it, where it's get uninsured motorist coverage.
Absolutely.
Get uninsured motorist coverage, because you can buy insurance to protect you, your family, the occupants of your vehicle, in the event you are involved in an accident with somebody who has no bodily injury coverage altogether, which again is perfectly legal, or not enough. So it stands in place of bodily injury coverage, but also can act as excess coverage if the person did have bodily injury coverage, but the amount was too low.
Yeah, I mean, I think someone's doing themselves a great disservice, their family a disservice, if they don't get that coverage that really steps in, and if, in case heaven forbid, someone hits you without insurance. Todd Miner, always a pleasure, buddy.
Yep,
keep
thank
up
you
the
for
good
having
work.
me.
We'll keep following you over there. You're doing a great job, and I know you're changing lives over at Todd Miner Law.
Yep, thank you very much.
You got it, Todd. Thank you so much. Hey, quick break. When we return, we will come back to wrap it up with Makaila, and we will figure out what did we learn. I'm here with Stephen Bader, the COO of IQ Power Solar. Steve, as you know, I went solar at my house with IQ Power Solar. Thank goodness that I did. There are a lot of door-knocking companies out there. There are a lot of these sales organizations that pretend to do solar. They are not IQ Power Solar. What separates you?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's an exciting industry and a lot of people are getting into it, and that's a good thing, right? For the most part. No one says, oh, I want to just put as many panels on the roof. That's not a good investment. We understand home energy, we understand how to get the best return on your investment, and we understand that at the end of the day, you're not buying a solar system. No one says, I can't wait to get up and look at my system. You're buying an outcome, so that's what we focus on. We focus on an outcome, a promise, someone hold accountable for that promise, and you know, a 40-year commitment to it. So that's what we do.
Really what made us switch to solar was our electric bill was insane. It was $600–700 a month. What made me choose IQ Power was I had a bunch of people obviously come knock on my door, and I just went through and did some research on it. I liked that they were all under one contract. It wasn't multiple contractors. Everything was handled through the same individual, and they knocked everything out in a timely manner and really worked it out for us. They had the best warranties and guarantees in the business, and my wife really liked that. They were fantastic to work with.
Thank you for what you did for me and my family, Steve. IQ Power Solar. Do yourself a favor, give IQ Power Solar a call today. You will not regret that decision.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Todd and Tom. I think that was really, really great stuff. Hope you got something out of it today as well. But now it's time for what did we learn? Makaila? What did you learn today?
I learned that I really need to go over my insurance policy for my car because I don't think I know if I have coverage or not.
Well, what you don't know is during the break, Makaila asked Todd as he was leaving about her policy, so I know that she definitely has some questions to follow up on.
I do.
Here's what I learned. It is so important early on, especially if you have parents right now, you do not want let's be honest for a second, okay? Some of your parents' money you're hoping is, comes to you down the road. But if you don't do anything about it now, all of that money is going to be used to pay for a nursing home. If you have parents that are getting a little bit up there in age, I think it is absolutely time to call Tom about figuring out how to protect their assets, because their assets, in the grand scheme of things, are likely going to be yours, right? I'm not pointing at you directly. I know Steve and Cheryl. I'm not talking about your parents. I'm talking about parents in general.
Parents in general.
Makaila, great job as always. Thank you very much. Thank you as always for joining us every weekend here at 11:30 on Saturdays. We'll see you next week for more Behind the Law.
The proceeding was a paid advertisement. The views expressed were the sole responsibility of the advertiser.